This is my square body Chevy. My first square body Chevy was an 83 with an Olds 403 in it, and I always wanted a diesel one. So I've been looking for a square body Chevy with a diesel, and I found one. It's got a cat diesel in it. It's a 10.4 liter. So it's my first square body Chevy was an 83, and I bought this one. It's an 85. My first one was a 3/4 ton. This one's just a touch heavier. It's a C70 KODIAK. I also just bought an 81 square body. It's a half ton with a 5.7 diesel in it. So I now have two, and I am putting a 6.2 diesel into my 83. So I will have 3 square body Chevs with a diesel. But as far as a square body Chevy goes, if you ever grew up playing with Tonkas, this is a Tonka and a Chevy all in one. Nothing like bringing out your inner child. And it's got a Allison automatic and a 2-speed rear end in it. It's got enough pickup and go. It just launches. I don't think it would have much for top end because, well, but it's fun to drive on icy or slippery roads because you can just spin that back end, and well, it's interesting to, you know, drift a 70 series truck. It was a plow truck. Was from Nobleford, Alberta. The old public works thing is on there, and it has belonged to different towns at different times. Village of Nobleford, and can't quite make out the other town. There's one town label over top of another town label. Changed ownerships over time. It needs a bit of work for getting it safetied. Pretty much the biggest issue is it needs weather stripping for the doors to stop it from rattling, and there's a small piece of floor that needs to get replaced, which is actually, if you know anything about these trucks, very minor. There seems to be a pinhole in one of the fuel tanks, so it's blocked off from the other side. I found that out by when I got it, putting fuel in both tanks and noticing a spill a week later. Seats need to get reupholstered, and it's just going to be a great everyday pickup for around the farm and the house. Neighbors complain about parking on the road, but when it's registered they can't say anything, and they get better fuel mileage than a new truck, and well, you got the character to go with it. These things are awesome. Cheaper than a new truck, more reliable than a new truck. Parts are readily available. Yeah, this is going to be a bit of a family project. All the kids like it. My daughter was backing down our farm lane with it because there was stuff parked on the turnaround part, and then she would just hammer down and launch down here, get as fast as she could, lock up the brakes before she'd get to the end, and then back down the lane with the next little kid. I have 8 kids. The oldest daughter, she was enjoying driving it. She was giggling and laughing and launching all the way. But this is definitely going to be a fun truck that they'll remember for their lives. And these things are reliable enough. When my time's done, one of them, I hope, will have it and play with it for the rest of their life. Who knows how many generations an old Chevy will make, but this thing, being a Alberta and now Manitoba truck, is so much different than where I grew up in the East. You look at these original bolts and nuts on a 1985, and there's not a stitch of rust anywhere on the thing. Like, working on these prairie vehicles, you know, it's kind of like getting something out of the southern states, except they're even more sun-scorched. So, you know, winters can be hard, and even despite being a highway truck for public works, they must have been using it for sand, not salt, so it didn't corrode it all out. It's, you know, growing up in Eastern Ontario, this would have shocked me. Bare metal. Over the years, the weather has worn away the paint, the primer, and just left the factory bare. And it hasn't even rusted with bare, uncoated steel. Now, I think factory they did have a zinc coating from them on the heavy trucks, but where I grew up, you know, most vehicles by 5 years of age were getting a paint job to try and keep the rust down. If it was a Ford, 2-3 years and the vehicle was gone. I had an uncle who had a 4-year-old Ford Taurus wagon, and the bottom half of the doors were completely gone to the point where you could see the inner door panel from the outside. You know, you grow up in that, you move to the prairies, you find an 85 in 2022 that's bare metal and still hasn't rusted. You know, it's mind-boggling. And it didn't come with the plow, but apparently the hydraulics and everything worked for them. So the dump works. We have raised and lowered the bed, and that all seems to be good. But anyway, it's definitely needs some sort of plow type bumper. A snowblower would almost be better out where we live than a plow. Snowblowers do better on farm lanes and whatnot, and if I could find something affordable, a snowblower with a chute that dumped right into the box would just be absolutely peachy. But yeah, non-turbo, 10.4 liter. It's under 200 horse out of 10.4 liters. But it's all about the torque and low speed and fuel mileage. A big Cat V8 diesel. So anyway, hopefully the Boss Garage will do their thing again this year. I entered my bus, my B60 the first year. This is my entry for third year. Unfortunately, it's not, well, it does run. I can put a battery in it, fire it up, and it will run, but I haven't safetied it for the province yet. I'm buying whatever part I can as I can. I've got a box with a few pieces in the front. When I initially got it, I pressure washed it and cut through the lower rad hose. The rubbers were just degraded, so I have changed the rad hose, topped up the fluids, done all that, changed out the coolant from the green stuff to a longer life red one, and she wants to go for a ride. Anyway, this is a cow, and that is a Kodiak. And that's hopefully what I'm entering this year. So this thing is just a nice pickup. Whenever I drove a pickup, my dad sold half ton. I was always upset that it seemed like the tires always looked like they were about to burst. And I realized if you have a half ton, you're always putting a Chevy anyway. You're always putting 2 ton in it. And then when I bought a 3/4 and 1 ton Chevys, I was always putting 2.5, 3 ton in them. So I kind of dread what I'm going to end up pulling with this thing, because yeah, I always overdo it, and this kind of gets me into the trouble territory for overdoing it. But anyway, old Chevy just needs a little love to bring her back. Still ready to drive, needs bearings, seals, and hoses, couple cables, but the glass is even good in it. And yeah, anyway, thanks for taking a look at this. Bye.